Good morning, beautiful people. How are we doing? Sam at United People's TV. Can you let me know if I'm live? I'm pretty sure I am, but just let me know in the chat. How are we all doing? Let's run through the latest United news. And I'll tell you what, it really has been a pretty fantastic international break for United. I think that's the second one in a row, really, where it's been spot on. Injuries, none to talk about. Sheshko, that happened before the international break. We'll run through everything from Dorgu's goal for Denmark to Sekou Kone getting a brace for Mali's under-23s. Then we'll speak about Amorim, we'll speak about Marc Guehi, and we're going to be taking a look at the contracts expiring list. Where are the market opportunities? Because that's the reason we're going to have a conversation about Guehi. We'll also speak about, who else have I got? Sonic on midfielders, and you'll let me know what you want to talk about, as always, in the chat. If you send in good questions, you can steer the conversation of the show. And by the looks of it, we're all live. We're all good. Let's see who's here from the mods and the members, and let's get on with today's show. We've got Stephanie, good morning to you. Carl, Maddie, you're there as well. Josh, you'll be there lurking. We've got Teresa, we've got Monkton, we've got Steve Denham, John, got Craig. Let's get on with today's show. It is miserable outside. But I'll tell you what, this is boring. Finally sorted my heating. Set up overnight. Woke up. It's actually not as cold this morning. I woke up on Monday. I was like, the beauty and the benefits of working from home. Well, there's beauties and benefits. But at the same time, got to heat your whole house instead of the office. Anyway, very random, I know. Now, let's get on with today's show. I want to quickly start. This isn't about the international break. This is just something I think is quite important. If you don't know what the salary cap plan was, there's a vote that's going on Friday. There's supposed to be a vote that's going on Friday with Premier League clubs. And it's about anchoring. It's about linking, I think, the way... How does anchoring exactly work? Does it link the TV revenues with the relegated team? Either way, it's something that was floated as an idea to link the salary spending for the top teams versus the bottom teams in the league to create some sort of salary cap. Arsenal were in support of that, but it seems like they're going to go against it now, so the vote might not even go ahead, because you know how these votes work. I think, is it 14 clubs had to vote for it? Is that what it is? Oh, there you go, look. Premier League league is one of the main drivers for the introduction of anchoring, which would limit spending to 5 times the amount paid in prize money and broadcast revenues to the club who finished bottom. Right. Doesn't sound like they're going to bring it in. I mean, it's a good thing for United because we're right at the top. I wonder if I don't think they'll ever be able to bring a salary cap in to the Premier League. I think it's too far gone. It's too far gone. Right. Let's speak about the international break. Sam, you're saying, love that shirt. Is it United gear or somewhere else? I'm pretty sure this was United gear. It's actually one of my favourites. It fits really nicely. Why they released it? It's Adidas. I don't know whether it was officially United or not. Need a little haircut. Right. Can I just say a big congratulations to Scotland from last night? That international break, look, I was thinking about this. Like, I moan about international breaks. And the reason I moan about international breaks is because I've got absolutely sweet FA to look forward to. Like, club football is my everything. England qualified top of their group without conceding a goal. Fantastic fun. Whereas I don't think there's going to be any Scottish fan or any Irish fan or even any Welsh fan who's going to say that it was a bad international break. I think that's kind of part of it. If you don't have anything to look forward to, the international break can really be a drag. But that game last night, from McTominay's, I mean, did you see that? The shape on that's like better than Ronaldo's one he got for Juventus. You know, when he was like, I don't know how high is his foot? it's like 12, 13. Mate, that overhead to kick off the game. Then a mad game. Kieran Tierney with what, 93rd minute winner? And then McLean from the halfway line. Just pandemonium. Dad, I know you're watching. I'm sure you enjoyed that. All my dad's family is up in Dundee. I used to go to Scotland all the time as a kid. In Dundee, there used to be a swimming pool. A fun story. Well, it's not even that fun. I'm just going to tell you anyway. There used to be a swimming pool there. It used to have a flume called the Cannonball. And it used to come out at the height of the second diving board. I never saw it anywhere else. I used to go down there all the time. You could go down backwards, upside. You could do whatever you wanted. I used to love that. Anyway, the first World Cup in 28 years. And actually, one of my first ever football memories was when my dad used to work in a place called the Gilbert Club. So it was like a bar that was attached to the church. And I remember watching Euro 96 in there when Gascoigne scored that goal against Scotland. Over Colin Hendry's head, volleyed in, dentist chair celebration. I was what, 7? I think I was 7. I remember that. John, you're saying you were Irish and Scottish, and why care about English? I was born in England. All my mum's family's from Derry. My dad was actually born in Donegal, but then his family moved over to Scotland. I'm all about. Bit in Northern Ireland, bit in Scotland, bit in England. An absolute mishmash. But yeah, fantastic international break for Scotland and a fantastic international break for Ireland as well. Overall, from United's perspective, like that was an absolutely bang-on international break. No injuries for me to moan about. Just some progress with some players that I think need some progress. Dorgu, for example, got a goal last night. We'll take that. Nice. Dorgu is, I actually think I didn't really speak about it that much. I think I was a little bit too pissed off after the Spurs game. But I think Dorgu's performance against Spurs was probably one of his best performances this season. I don't doubt Dorgu's quality. I think the thing that has eluded Dorgu so far has been consistency. There are games where he's good. There's also games that really pass him by and then he gets taken off, which is to be expected at his age. I'll be interested to see what United... I think because of priorities... I'll ask you now, actually. Do you think there's any chance that United sign a wing-back in the summer? I suppose there is a chance that we do. But if I'm looking at priorities, obviously you know what I think about the midfield. That's where the majority of United's money has to go into midfield this summer. And even past that point, I might argue that... No, probably would I argue at centre-back ahead of a wing-back? I'm not sure. I think Dorgu will be all right. But he's going to have to find that consistency. He doesn't have to put in 8s or 9s out of 10s every game. Just put in a good... I suppose what he was doing at the very beginning. 6, 7s out of 10, one game after the other. Either way, it's good to see him getting a goal last night. And this is what I mean about the international break being largely good for players that we want to see continue developing. Senny Lemons, rewind what? 3 months ago now? He was out playing in Belgium. Had never made his international debut. Now he has. Yeah, sure, it's against Liechtenstein. Got a clean sheet, as he should do, against Liechtenstein. But we spoke about it in the build-up to the international break. Thibaut Courtois, he's got an injury. Could that mean that Senny makes his international debut? Well, yes is the answer. He has. And that's a fantastic step for development. I mean, he's still not bloody lost this season. That's 6 games now. 5 for United. 1 for Belgium. Senny's a good luck charm. So congratulations to him. And then on top of that, we saw some more development. Mazraoui so far this season has looked very, very... Well, let's be honest, so far this season he's hardly played. But when he played against Spurs, he was mad rusty. Now he's played... I don't think he played in the first game for Morocco. Can't remember. I think it was about 80-ish minutes. Got himself an assist. Second game, full 90. Gets the assist, clean sheet, and man of the match. Good. Mazraoui was class last season. And I think Mazraoui has a role to play this season. I don't particularly know I know what I want. I would rather see Mazraoui always play as a right-sided centre-back than as a right wing-back. But then at the same time, if my other choice is Dalot as the right wing-back, then I'd probably put Mazraoui ahead of him as the right wing-back. Obviously, Ahmad's first choice. VJ is saying it's hard to be consistent, in terms of Dorgo, I'm guessing you mean, within consistent minutes. Minutes that were given to Dalot, who doesn't deserve it. Dalot, left wing-back. I hate Dalot at left wing-back. It's just awkward, man. Like if he has strengths as a player, and he does, it's certainly not a left. It's not as a left wing back. Anyway, on top of Mazraoui, maybe not actually physically, Casemiro and Cunha both started for Brazil. Cunha came off at half-time, and Casemiro came off after the 60th minute. That's them flying back to Manchester with their families yesterday from France. As I said, it was a much easier international break travel-wise for them. You know what must be quite funny, and just randomly when you think about this? You know how a lot of us just don't like international breaks? Footballers must bloody love them. Because playing for the club, that's their job. That's work for them, isn't it? International breaks are I wouldn't say a holiday, but a little bit of time away from work. Maybe you can take your family as well if your internationals are only against Tunisia in London and... No, Tunisia in France, and whoever they played... Was it Senegal they played in London? International players must bloody love... Not international players, but just football players must love international breaks. In the exact same way that a lot of United, just football fans, don't like them. Fans and players must look at them very differently. Carl, you're saying how many points from the next 5 games is realistic? It's still a little bit... I mean, you can start previewing and talking about the footy, but I'll probably do that tomorrow. It's Thursday. We don't play until bloody Monday. But yeah, Ahmad, he got a rest. Was left on the bench against Oman and came on. I think he got like 7 minutes. Either way, a nice little rest for Ahmad. That's what I mean. Like, there's just a lot of good stories. And this has to be one of the best stories. It might not be for the first team, but Sekou Kone has had a rough season so far. Maybe he's doing that celebration because he fractured his eye socket. I don't know. I've randomly just thought that, maybe. Played for Mali's under-23s. Bagged himself 2 goals. 2 good finishes as well, by the way. First time on his right foot, past to the edge of the 6-yard box. You can see the top left. And the other one, he was kind of put through on goal. A nice little finish with the outside of his right boot underneath the goalkeeper. Good for Sekou Kone. I think could we have seen him break into the first team fold this season had that injury not happened? I think you might have seen him in a matchday squad. Maybe. But yeah, I don't think he would have been a first team option. Either way, for a player who's had a really tough few months because of that injury, that fractured eye socket, to go and score 2 goals for Mali. And he scored 2 goals. I don't know what position he was playing. But bearing in mind, he's typically, when he played for United... Did he play for United at the end of pre-season tour? Remember that one? End of pre-season tour? That makes no sense. The post-season tour. One in Malaysia. I swear he played. And Shea Lacey played as well. I think he did. But he's a central midfielder, so to score 2 goals, really quite impressive. As I said, it's a good international break for United players. Now, this one's really random, right? Have a look at this video, right? So this is Jack Fletcher scoring for England's under-19s when he wins the ball just after a bad pass from his brother Tyler. Look, here's Tyler on the ball. Well on, Jack. Pass back. Jack wins it. Yeah! Lovely. but it's just quite funny to see. Has that ever happened at I mean, it must have done. I'm sure I can use ChatGPT or something. Have brothers ever played against each other at international level? I mean, it must have happened somewhere. Anyway, just thought that was quite funny. Now, it wasn't a good international break for every single United player. It's been a stanky season for Manuel Ugarte. That's the only way I can use. I'm sure there are plenty of other ways I can use to describe that. Someone saying the Boateng brothers, Xhaka brothers, Kalou brothers, plenty of brothers. There you go. Or maybe Jack and Tyler at some point will be playing for England and Scotland in the future. That'd be cool. USA absolutely steamrolled Uruguay, and Ugarte had a rather forgetful game. I mean, USA aren't exactly good, like, but any American fans in the chat? Like, how has it gone with? Because to get Poch in as a coach ahead of the World Cup, it felt like quite a big appointment. I didn't think it's been going that well, but they just pumped Uruguay 5-1. Woo. And as far as Ugarte goes, right? Why are people mentioning Rafael brothers for Brazil? I'm not saying about brothers playing for the same country. I'm saying two brothers of the same family, brothers, playing for different countries because they send their allegiances elsewhere. Melodies is saying US is actually getting better. John's saying US have athletes but no flair generally. It was Garner, not Turkey for Boateng. Anyway. But Ugarte, right? You know, we've already covered this. We don't need to have another conversation about it. This is from Laurie Whitwell, just reaffirming what he said previously at a live show about the fact that Amorim effectively gave Ugarte a shakedown at the end of the season. It was like, well, you're not the bloody Ugarte I remember at Sporting. What's happened to you? You got comfortable. My question to you, has something changed with Ugarte this season? Or do you think this is just a continuation of the form that he showed last season? I think he's definitely taken a couple of steps down. I think last season, I knew the weaknesses and I knew the flaws of Ugarte's game. I didn't pretend that they weren't there. But I also saw some strengths of his game. Out of possession and what he could bring to the team. But I think if there were any strengths to his game last season, I think they kind of faded away. I just don't particularly see Ugarte bringing much at all into United's team right now. Carrick fan and John, you're both saying he's got worse. So is Charlie. And quite a lot of you are saying that. Maybe this is a consequence of Amorim's comments on Ugarte. I don't quite know. Yeah, Dale, you can go down there. You're saying last season he had glimpses. Yeah, there were games, there were moments, there were game states where Ugarte added something to United last season, but I just don't really see if there's any this season. Which is really bloody hurting United. You know, we've talked about United in the first half versus United in the second half. Jekyll and Hyde. Like, we are top of the bloody table, or right there with City in terms of results at halftime. And then if you take the second half in isolation, we're right down at the bottom, like relegation. Our second half's a relegation level. Our first half's are title challenging level. And the subs are having an impact on that. But also, the subs are probably playing a role in why our fitness is better this season and why our injuries are better this season. So it's like catch-22. It's just that the second string isn't able to do what the first string is doing. Oh, that's harsh. Rank him alongside Schneiderlin. Man, that summer where... This is how far back the Man United need a new midfield conversations go. When did we bring in Schneiderlin and Schweinsteiger? That was Van Gaal, wasn't it? 2015? That 10 years. And Schneiderlin at the time, by the way, was one of the best defensive midfielders outside of the traditional top six that United could have signed. It was a great signing. Man, that did not work. I don't know what happened to Schneiderlin. And then Schweinsteiger. Man, I wish we signed. Of all the players that we signed, he was the one I wish we were able to sign earlier. Bloody love Schweinsteiger when he was playing at Bayern, man. It was unbelievable. What are you saying down here? That was Van Gaal. 10 years. Mate, we're all old as crap. Pack it all in. Right, let me see what you're saying about Ugarte. That superimposed image of Amber is whiffy at best. I didn't make that one. The pressure of last season has affected him. I think Ineos will be ruthless next summer and sell Ugarte. See, look, Caravan, I'll be honest. I don't think selling Ugarte is a ruthless decision. I think that's quite obvious. Getting rid of Højlund was a ruthless one. You could have kept Højlund. I've already spoken about that in detail, but I think that was actually quite ruthless. Moving Ugarte on, I don't think is a ruthless thing at all. I think it's just really quite bloody obvious. I'm interested to see what happens with Ugarte in January. Random question. Like, do you think there's any chance that... I was going to mention this later, but I may as well mention it now because it's kind of part of the conversation that we're having, right? And then we'll move on and we'll speak about Marc Guehi, all right? But this, right? You know what I think about January? I'm actually going to do my lunchtime. My lunchtime video I was supposed to do on Monday, but I got distracted. I couldn't do it. So today I'm going to do it all around the January window, midfielders, my expectations, my predictions, and what I don't want to see happen, all in one video. Fran, big up to you, saying 6 months quality content. Here's the next 6. Thank you very much. Oh, man. I'll tell you what I've got down. You can't quite see it. Should I take a photo? See if I take a photo. One sec. Right. You see all these down there? That is a pile of posters. How many is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's about 14-ish posters. I was going through yesterday. I said I've got some stuff I want to give away in December as part of like the advent calendar. I did a recce yesterday. I've got about 14 framed A2 posters. Loads of them Stan Chow. Some of them originals. And I've got a load more down there. I'm telling you, the advent calendar giveaway we're going to do here for the community, whether it's on Discord for quiz prizes or live chat, just spot prizes, there's going to be a ton of stuff given away in December, all building up to a big prize. And I won't reveal what the big prize is just yet. But anyway, distracted there. So, speaking about Ugarte. So my question is this. I don't think that United really have got any chance of getting the top targets that we want in January. I really don't. I don't think that's particularly our fault. I think even if City came in with all the money in the world, or Liverpool with all the money in the world, I think you'd probably get the same answer for Elliot Anderson. Probably going to get the same answer from Adam Wharton. Well, not directly, but Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest. But that there, right? This is from Nathan Salt from Daily Mail. Senior United figures do not believe Anderson or Wharton or Baleba are likely winter window transfers, but don't rule out a more low-cost option, such as Wolves' João Gomez. Now, given the prices that we saw from Portugal this week, 44 mil, I wouldn't exactly say that's a low-cost option. But let's just take it into account, right? I'm trying to think about logic here. I don't look at João Gomez and think, that's a midfielder I want United to spend 40 to 50 million on. If that takes away from money we're going to have in the summer for Anderson and Wharton. But if I look at João Gomez and think, is there any way that United can move Ugarte on and replace his position in the squad with João Gomez? Then I start looking at it a little bit different, I suppose. So maybe any idea of João Gomez coming in might be directly related to any idea of Ugarte going out. It was just something I was randomly thinking. Like, I think Wolves have got, like, I actually don't know when he signed a new contract. I don't know how many years he's got left, which is obviously that's a big determining factor, isn't it? In the value of a player is how many years he's got left in his contract. Ain't no way I'm paying 45 million for a player who's likely to go down with Wolves. Anyway, just something I was randomly thinking about. Ross is saying I'd rather play Sekou Kone than buy João Gomez. Dude, like, be realistic. I don't mean that in a way to, like, poo-poo the academy, but this is a player who is yet to feature for the first team in a competitive game, let alone come in and be part of our Premier League squad for the rest of the season. Neil, you saying Ugarte out or Mainu out in January? Look, I don't want Mainu to leave United in January, but I think it's probably the best thing we can do. Because if we don't play Kobe, if we keep him and we give him the second half of the season the same as the first half and hardly any minutes and he doesn't get in the World Cup squad, I'm telling you, he's going to resent United. And that relationship might be scarred. And I don't want that to happen. Alex talking about if Ugarte went for 20 mil. I don't even know how much you get for Ugarte. And Asosa, you're not run down there saying the midfield problem has been here since forever. You could go, I don't know how far back you want to go. If you really want to go that far back, I'd say United never bloody replaced Roy Keane. We've had some good midfielders since we had Roy Keane, though. So I'll give you that. But pretty much since Carrick and Scholes went, that's when I think United have just never, somehow, never ever replaced the midfield or created a midfield that's anywhere near the same. What's the best midfield that we've had post Carrick and Scholes? Was it Pogba and Bruno for a bit? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Casemiro last season? Was it last season? No, not last season. Season before. This is his third season, isn't it? Herrera and Pogba. Would you go there? Matic and Herrera? Yeah, even Matic was a little bit too old. It probably is that. Probably is that, you know. Pogba, Matic, Herrera. I think that's about as strong as it's got. Jeez, McTominay and Fred. Neither of them were central midfielders. Both of them were number 10s. Well, number 8s, attacking number 8s. Yeah, I probably would go that. Pogba, Matic and Herrera. I think you're all right. And I don't mean this in an offensive way. But that's as good as it's got. One down there saying, can't Mainly just play a deeper role? Kobe can play a deeper role, but it's just not where the natural strengths of his game lie. And play your best players in their best positions. And Kobe thinks instinctively further up the pitch. Whereas when he plays deeper, he's really got to be focused and laser. And I'm not saying he can't be, but it's not as instinctive for Kobe when he's deeper. That's why he's a little bit clunky in that sense. Certainly if you play him in midfield 2. If you played him in a midfield 3, he'd look a lot more athletic, but because he's in a midfield 2 and has to just physically cover loads of ground, he's not as fast off the blocks. He's not as explosive, I suppose. Anyway, let's move on. And some good news here, which I think we kind of knew already, but the suggestion is that Šeško is going to be back training with the group at the start of December, which is only 12 days away. So it may well be that it's more precaution than it is injury, really. It's also saying if only we had signed Neves instead of Ugarte. PSG did us, I wouldn't say PSG did us dirty. I just think that United weren't in a position where we could compete to sign somebody who was ready to challenge for all the pots. Let's be honest, we weren't when Neves joined PSG. And then he joined PSG and he won the treble. So I think he made the right decision. Let's be honest. Anyway, Šeško, good. Bring it back. I wouldn't say bring it back as soon as possible, but to hear that he'll probably be training with the group at the start of December is indicative that wherever the injury is, it really isn't that bad. D-Ball was saying Herrera was class, hated when we sold him. I remember that. You remember what happened with the whole contract situation? That was after Alexis Sanchez got that mega deal. He was going to join City, but then joined United. Was a crap signing, and the ripple effect of that contract that he got. I think are we still feeling it now? We're still reading from it a little bit. And Herrera was part of that and effectively went and said, look, well, if Sanchez is getting that much, I feel like I've got more value to the team. And he did. But United said no. Then he moved to PSG. I always liked Herrera, man. Right, let's move on to... This is a conversation that I thought that we were going to have in the same way that... Who else do I think we're going to be getting linked to? Like, I think we'll get linked to Bouadi from Lille. We got linked to Keith Smith from AZ Alkmaar. There's going to be some other players that we get linked to. But this one just makes sense. Right? And again, this comes from Nathan Salt from the Daily Mail saying, United are expected to monitor Guehi's contract situation as he enters his final 6 months at Palace. And I did a video yesterday on Semenyo. I covered the Semenyo full story. I explained how United put in a bid for him in the summer before we signed Mbeumo. Have the goalposts moved for United? I think they kind of have a little bit since the summer. Not to say that we couldn't benefit from having Semenyo in the team. But I think United could probably spend 50, 60, 65 mils of release clause. We could spend that better in different areas in terms of priorities. Guehi, it just makes sense, right? And it's led me to do this, right? What other market opportunities are out there? Because I think that's probably downplaying how good Marc Guehi is. Now, he could very much come into Manchester United and be one of our starting centre-backs for the next 4 or 5 years. Like, Dalron down there saying he's one of the best centre-backs in the league. Crystal Palace are going to be fuming that he's leaving on a free transfer, but his move to Liverpool collapsed right at the end of the window, didn't it? Do I expect him to sign for Liverpool? I suppose that's a question I want to ask you. Do you think there's any actual chance of United, I suppose, hijacking Liverpool's move for Guehi, because they're a step ahead. You know, in the same way that we're a step ahead with Carlos Baleba because we turned his head in the summer, we might not have moved for him, but if we went back for him now, we kind of be first in line. Do you think that same concept exists with Liverpool and Guehi? Juicy, you're saying I think that Liverpool sign him in January. I mean, they could sign him in January. He's going to be a free agent in the summer. Crystal Palace, and this is a question as well. Like, do you think Crystal Palace will be? This feels like a rhetorical question, but you just don't know. Do you think Crystal Palace will be interested in selling Marc Guehi in January for a bit of money instead of losing him for free in the summer? And then the question you've got to ask yourself is, how much value does Marc Guehi hold to the second half of Crystal Palace's season? Phil, you're saying we should 100% try. Not a chance he's off to City or Liverpool, says Siegs. We definitely need to throw in a cheeky bid. I suppose maybe that's part of the conversation, is whether United are going with a bid. But that's led me to do this, right? And I think this is a sort of video in itself. This here is a list of the contracts that expire in the summer. You see, there's quite a few players on this list. Like Upamecano. Has anybody heard anything about? Is it Upamecano? I mean, that reeks of a Real Madrid, doesn't it? I swear they do it every bloody summer. Whether it's Mbappe, whether it's Trent, whether it's probably Upamecano. Actually, I think I've seen Kylian Mbappe bigging up Upamecano. Obviously, he's French as well. I imagine he's going to go Real Madrid, so I don't really think there's too much of a conversation about that. Konate, I've got no idea what's going on with him at Liverpool, but I don't really care. Then you got Guehi down there. Vlahovic finally going to be leaving Juve. Haven't they been trying to get him to cancel his contract for like 2 years? I swear they have. Anyway, Vlahovic going to be a free agent. Bernardo Silva. Quentin Timber. Mike, how do you say his name? Manyan? Mikey M. Mikey M. He's going to be a free agent. I could see United being in for him if, and I don't think this is going to happen, by the way, but I think United probably had him down as a potential if Seni really struggled this season. Like, he was good at points, but he struggled, and you can see that he wasn't quite ready to be the first choice goalkeeper. I think United might have gone, and signed an experienced goalkeeper. As it stands, it looks like United have got a new number 1, and we're actually looking for a number 2 instead. Julian Brandt, no interest in him. Ruben Neves. Now, has anything been happening with the Ruben Neves situation? Because bloody hell, you remember, I had Ruben Neves down as a dream signing for a good couple of years. I need to look into reports. Is there anything to suggest he's going to sign a new deal out in Saudi? Is he going to be moving back to the Premier League? Is he moving anywhere? I don't know. Would I take Ruben Neves? Yeah, I still think I would. Unless he's dramatically changed as a player. I don't quite know. Sessegnon at left wing back. Serge Gnabry. And look, down here as well. And this might be a conversation. Maybe it's not the most interesting one. But James Garner. Still only 24, can I add? Do you think James Garner would be interested in a return to United? I think he would be. I don't think he didn't particularly leave on like bad terms. I'm trying to remember who he left under. Was it Ten Hag? And it was pittance. David's pissed off. Think this is one of the most boring episodes you've done in a long while, Sam. Buck up your ideas. This is below par. How dare you have a conversation about news, Sam? It's the international break, mate. It's almost like United haven't played in like 10 or 11 days. And I'm just trying to bring you the news that's happening. Go and have a go at the international break if you want. Don't come swinging at me. Front end asking for a video on Vitek. Yeah, we've done one on Harry and Mass. We're probably going to be doing one on Vitek at some point soon. I've held back on it just yet, but I will be at some point. 15 mil, was it? Didn't actually realise it was that much. I suppose that is quite a lot. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is there's actually, on this list, there's quite a few that you might go, huh? Maybe. I think Marc Guehi is one of them. I don't particularly think that... Do I think United can supersede Liverpool? Maybe. I think they've got the runner in though, so they can probably, if they want to sign him, they can sign him. I think the only way that we do get a march on him is if we go in January and we actually offer money. It's certainly one to watch. Frankie saying, thanks for recognising James Garner. Followed in the season. I think he's something we need. I'll be honest, you can look at a lot of midfielders and a lot of players and you go, he could do a job at United. He can do a job at United. He can do a job at United. Which is kind of dangerous territory. Same with attackers last season. You could look at every single one and go, well, he would improve us. He would improve us. He would improve us. He would improve us. It's about choosing the right ones, and that's not down to us. That's down to Jason Wilcox, Chris Favell. Emmanuel's saying, how can we be talking about James Garner coming back to United? We're looking at the free agent market because United will be looking at market opportunities, right? Last summer, I'm sorry, but there's no way that United spent months and months and months with Chris Favell and Jason Wilcox go, oh, look, we've got all the strikers available. We actually think the best possible option is Liam Delap. Like, that conversation didn't happen. The conversation that did happen was, we've got a limited budget and we need XXX. Is there any way that we can find a strategy to do all of this? Liam Delap's got a 30 mil release clause. Oh, okay, well, he showed potential. Maybe that's an opportunity. That's what happened with Liam Delap. And obviously he went to join Chelsea. Yeah, great move, mate. And then we actually ended up having more money because we took more down on the credit card. It's kind of what we did. Marc Guehi will be an opportunity. James Garner technically could be one. Whether it's the right one, I don't know. But these are conversations that United will be having behind the scenes. I guarantee you. Guarantee they will be. Whether we execute on them is a different matter. But you have to look at these markets. You have to see where the opportunities are. And maybe there are some. Maybe not. One thing which is, well, do I think that Shea... Random question. Type yes or no in the chat. Do you think that United should loan Shea Lacey out in January? Yes or no? There really are only a handful of players, and they're anomalies in terms of academy players who come through from academy football to smash it in the first team without having loans for development. Shea Lacey could be one of those players. Kobbie Mainoo was one of those players. Now, of course they exist, but largely they're anomalies. He's had a really good season of development so far. What do you explain? He's been with the first team plenty. He's trained with the England first team, scored his first England under-20s goal. He's getting some regular games, regular goals, and he's developing. Now, Nathan Salt is saying that he won't be loaned, and United aren't really interested in loaning him out. I'm curious as to know what you all think down here. Yeah, Rashford is another one. As I said, there are certain players, but I consider them anomalies rather than just the traditional pattern. Because the difference between under-18s, under-21s, and first-team football at United, that chasm is huge. And that bit in the middle can only really be served by loans. Under-21s football, no matter how competitive it gets, won't ever get you close enough to what the first-team environment is and playing in stadiums and the physicalness. Alone in the Championship would. Brian's saying, no, I'd rather him take a Max Dowman role like at Arsenal. What I would say, and this is really important too, I think United have got the sort of experienced level players now in the first team that these younger players can learn from. So I would say the environment for Shea Lacey to come into the first team is better than it would have been last year, for example. Whereas if he came in, he'd be learning from who? Rashford and Anthony and Garnacho? I don't particularly think you're going to learn too much from... no, you're not going to. But now you've got Cunha to look up to. You've got Mbeumo to look up to. Šeško, he's still young. But it's a better environment. You've got more experienced leaders that you can learn from. I think I would probably like Lacey to stay at United for the rest of this season. Maybe get an opportunity when AFCON happens and be involved in some matchday squads. Maybe even make his debut. I don't know. In the FA Cup. Why not? And then in the summer, maybe you talk about a loan move. And I would only be interested in talking about a loan move to the Championship. BJ saying you'll never know what these anomalies are. You just have to play them and see. To a certain degree, yes. But first impressions are incredibly important. And especially in the modern age, when videos and memes and everything will be remembered and shared, and that first impression can go a long way to the psychology and the psychological development of a younger player. So you can't just throw a lad in for the sake of it and say, oh, go on and see if you sink or swim. You have to know the right times to do it. I would rather see Shea Lacey stay at United for the rest of the season, continue the development he's doing in-house, and if he's at that point, then we talk about a loan spell. Bristol City. Why not? Well, it depends if they go up, I suppose. But Radek Vitek's had a cracking... And I suppose he got his opportunities because the keeper got injured, but we'll see. Johnny saying he's identified as a special player, won't be loaned 100%. Maybe not. I don't think he should be loaned in January, though. I think you should keep him... His development is good enough that you should keep him inside the club. Jason saying, what about Cheeto? That's a good question, man. I would put Cheeto down as a loan to the Championship. I told him, I'm telling you, that's going to be my answer for probably 90% of academy players. A loan spell in a promotion-pushing Championship club, ideally. Although saying that, Harry Mass, he's certainly developing, and he's with Sheffield Wednesday, who are rock bottom of the Championship. Right, I'm going to end the most boring show of the week. Some comments just catch me out, man. I have to read them out because it makes me laugh. Cheddar saying, I wanted to come on and answer yesterday's question of how Americans follow such a long sports season. Basically, we watch sports every night and day. Living the dream. Yeah, man, it must be exhausting. I was randomly looking at the table. Was it Lakers of fourth? Because I think LeBron became the first NBA player ever to play in 23 consecutive seasons. Damn. 40 that dude is now. But look, thank you all for tuning in. I'll be here tomorrow. I think we'll probably start the build-up for the Everton game tomorrow. Obviously, we don't play until Monday, 8 p.m. So the international break, honestly, I think it's the longest it could possibly be. 12:30 on Saturday to 8 p.m. on Monday. Today's lunchtime video is going to be a full conversation around the January window and midfielders. There's been a lot of stories that have come out this week. I'm going to pull them all together to give you my video. All right? Thank you all for tuning in. Much love. I will see you tomorrow. Take it easy.